Happy Saturday, everyone. I hope you are all having a fantastic Saturday morning so far. It has been a very difficult week, I think, for most of the area. So, kicking off the weekend, just hoping that everybody is doing okay. This morning, we have started off with a lot of heavy rain, even a few thunderstorms. And I will say, we're expecting rain and storms, even a few spots this morning, but this is even more storm activity and more rain than even expected. But there's plenty of moisture in the atmosphere. So anytime that happens, heavy rain is a possibility. So things, again, even blew up even more than expected. But you can see on radar, we're already seeing that rain pop up across the region. So as we zoom in, you're going to be able to see all the spots that we've seen heavy rain. Now, there was a flash flood warning earlier this morning in Stanley County across portions of Big Lick up towards Stanfield and even areas near Albemarle. I haven't seen a lot of radar support for anything more than 2 to 3 inches at a maximum. So at this point, not as concerned about flash flooding now, but I do think there's the potential that additional flooding could happen if more rain is on the way. Now, what's happening, it looks like, is there's a little disturbance there over the state of Georgia. And as the front is kind of situated over the Carolinas, we're pretty much sandwiched in between the two, and that's surging all of this moisture into the Charlotte region. The good thing is that sometimes when you see rain activity early, it can stabilize the atmosphere, which means we could see some of those midday breaks, but more storm activity will happen regardless by the second half of the afternoon and into the evening. So you should prepare accordingly for the potential for storms and rain this afternoon. Have shelter if you plan on being outside, whether it's heading to the car, a parking garage, things like that by the second half of the afternoon. So let's talk about what's happening right now. Again, showers and storms overspreading a lot of the Charlotte metro area. We have seen pockets again of really heavy rain. And right now, this is still centered a lot over Stanley County from Albemarle all the way up toward Gold Hill, which is on the southern end there of Rowan County, all the way down toward Norwood. So please be mindful of that potential of localized flooding. Remember, turn around, don't drown. Please do not drive through a flooded roadway, across a barrier. I did get a really helpful tip from a local viewer, so I'm actually going to give him a shout out. He might be on the stream, he might not be. But Jason Skeen sent me a tweet to let me know that he lives in Stanfield, that's in Stanley County, and this was under the flash flood warning that was in effect from 8 into 10 earlier. And he said he lives in Stanfield and he made a lap around the area. He said roads were really wet, but some of the usual washout areas that do flood when they typically see heavy rain have not flooded yet. So I told him that was really helpful. Thank you as always for sending in your reports to us. It's always helpful to get them as long as you guys don't put yourself in danger. You can also always send pictures, videos, things like that to the WCNC Charlotte mobile app using the Near Me function. And you can always text us things like that. You know, of course, you can tweet us, Facebook message, Instagram. You guys can also text 704-329-3600. That's essentially texting the newsroom, but our news people will also get that to the weather team. I'm going to check the National Weather Service messages real quick just to make sure there haven't been any updates in the past few minutes that we've been waiting on this about those storms. And okay, lightning, that was the last thing. Greenville, efficient lightning as well as efficient rainfall. We know that. Okay, there hasn't been any updates, so I'm going to put that down. Okay, so again, heavy rain across portions of Stanley County. This is mostly coming in from the south and west and pushing toward the north and east. Good morning, Daniel. Good morning, Kelsey. Happy Derby Day. Yes, hopefully the forecast for the Kentucky Derby is better than here. I have not checked it. This is part of the Charlotte Metro, so if you're in Uptown, anywhere within the 485 loop, from Pineville, South Charlotte, all the way up toward Weddington, Waxhaw, Matthews, Mint Hill, all the way up to Mount Holly in Gaston County, Gastonia, McAdenville, Lowell, Fort Mill, TKK, Lake Wiley, Steel Creek, Rock Hill, Van Wyck, you're seeing rain. Now, the heaviest rain is on the northern side there of York County and into most of Mecklenburg County right now, the center part. But again, this is shifting from the south and west mostly to the north and northeast. Some lightning strikes, but it is primarily heavy rain. Now, I know Brad mentioned this in his vlog, but it is worth mentioning that these are what are called training storms, and they do Two things, but one, they're slow movers. So they do often produce heavy rain that can lead to localized flooding. But two, what we call training storms, essentially they have cold pools of air that kind of allow these storms to feed upon themselves. So oftentimes you'll notice that they start to move, but as they move, they sort of back build across each other. So the storm's moving this way, but then it's like instead of moving, it moves, but it just still stays. It's like expanding. And with that, also causes additional flooding. So if you're noticing this, if you have the WCNC Charlotte mobile app or even another radar app and you're noticing storms are almost expanding instead of fully moving, that is why. It's because they're called training storms. We see these a lot during the summertime and it really just feels sticky outside, all that summertime humidity. It's one of the reasons why. Remember, humidity is moisture in the atmosphere and that contributed to the ability for storms to train. So if you notice on the southern tip here of the screen, Charlotte is on the southern end. So again, this is heavy rain moving north now into parts of northern Mecklenburg County. So we're talking into Cornelius, eventually to Huntersville. There is some light rain in Huntersville now near the Huntersville area, Davidson area, now slowly creeping into southern Iredell County, some light rain near Mooresville. I think this is an important thing. We always talk about the fact that lightning can strike well outside of the center of a storm. Notice there's about 3 or so lightning strikes over Lake Norman, but there's only some light rain over Lake Norman. The actual storms themselves are near Sherrills Ford. So remember, lightning can strike outside of the center of a storm. Good morning, Holly. Good morning, Nancy. Heavy rain also over parts of Lincoln County near Lincolnton, High Shoals, and even east toward Louisville, Westport, and even near Maiden. Again, Gastonia, Dallas near Spencer Mountain, Belmont, Mount Holly, we already mentioned those areas. But so again, this is really widespread for most of the metro, which of course is the Charlotte metro, 485 loop, but of course, southern Iredell County, Lincoln County, Catawba County, Cabarrus, Gaston, York, Union, all of those counties, that really encompass most of the metro. I hope this helps this morning. This is our rainfall total map that we use this graphic a lot when we started raining earlier in the day. I added a legend to this because I thought the color legend would help with the areas that don't have official sensors. So the little white, sensors with the city, those are where we have official sensors, where you see the temperature data, but we don't obviously have those everywhere. So you see the little pocket of yellow in between Ashboro and Albemarle and Concord. Well, of course, you're not going to know the sensor there. So that's where we could see upwards of 2 to 3 inches. Then that's likely what the National Weather Service in Raleigh was seeing to issue that flash flood warning. Because officially at the sensor in Albemarle, they got less than an inch. One in Ashboro, less than a quarter. But again, they were seeing something that was indicating more rain than that. So I hope this new legend is helpful because I did put it together this morning. So again, it's really feast or famine. Albemarle about 1 inch. Good morning, Lynn. Thank you for the update. Heavy rain and storms in York. Thank you so much for the update. Thankfully, these are not as bad as those storms a few weeks ago in York County. But thank you for the report, Lynn. Stay weather aware today for those lightning strikes. And I'm so sad at the Strawberry Festival, not in York, of course, in Fort Mill, but so sad it was canceled this year. Maybe they'll reschedule it. Of course, if that does happen, we'll let you know. Another spot that saw a decent amount of heavy rain earlier this morning, and we actually did get a nice report from a viewer around 6 a.m., was actually Boone. You can see about a 1/4 inch of rain there up in the mountains, and they did see some lightning strikes as well. So we've gotten our fair share of rain and storms even so far this morning. And if you haven't watched the early half of the stream, if you're just now hopping on, I did mention this. Oftentimes when we see rain and storms early, it can help stabilize the atmosphere. So we do often see some midday breaks. So that is a possibility in some of these areas that have seen early rain. That doesn't mean we won't see more later. But, for example, Uptown, where Love and Life is, now that we're seeing rain now, that does mean that middle part of the day, they could see some breaks and then of course more later on. And you would see this a little bit reflected as we look at the futurecast. The futurecast models truthfully have done a terrible job today at picking up on any of these early showers and storms. So they really haven't been picking up on those breaks that we know can happen when the atmosphere stabilizes. But finally, some of these short range models, which is what we call, the ones that come out, just a few hours in advance, they're typically a little bit better about picking this up. So they're doing it a little bit now as we look ahead into time. You can kind of see this after about 2 to 3 p.m. I'll kind of see if you can see this in a second as it progresses. See that, how Charlotte Metro is seeing like a little bit of that break action. And then let's see if we can progress it a little bit more. Sorry, guys, you know that sometimes the clicker doesn't like to work since it's only the computer over here that works with this stream. There we go. See how, again, there are breaks. So Brad was saying this yesterday. It will not rain for the entirety of the day, but we will see rain and storms off and on. And the storms that do develop, of course, will cause lightning because remember the distinction between rain and storms is rain means just rain, storms means thunder and lightning. Thunder and lightning happen together. The reason why you see lightning first is because light travels faster than the speed of sound. And so it's the lightning that's dangerous. So when you think about an outdoor activity, you just want to know where you could go to shelter in place if there was lightning in the area. And I do believe, I don't know this for a fact, but I do believe that that's the reason why something like the Fort Mill Strawberry Festival was canceled because from personal experience, because we went last year, and of course they're one of our partners, we were supposed to go this year. There's not a lot of places to shelter because it's a little bit more open. Of course, there's a lot of trees and it's more of tents. There's not, parking garages and places people could easily pop back into their car. And so I do think that's the main reason why they probably made that decision a little bit earlier versus if you were at Bank of America Stadium, if you could quickly, bop in under and, go to the concession area, where you do have a shelter. Or Truist Field, for example, where they have shelter too. And my guess is based on where First Word Park is, where Love and Life is, they're probably planning on having people go, for example, under the parking garages. They have told our Destiny Richards, she was out there earlier, that they have a plan, which is good news. I always tell people that if they have an event and there are storms in the forecast, to just make sure you check out what their weather policy is before you go, because every event has a different weather policy, and just to stay safe and know what that policy is. I mean, maybe we, of course, think this way because we're meteorologists, but you always want to know so you can stay safe. Now, again, as you look at this future cast, just remember that just because it's not storming, let's say around 4 o'clock, does not mean that we won't see a resurgence of storm activity later on in the day. You can see around 11, 12 o'clock, there is that potential for a few more storms. Kyle says he used to work and they had to evacuate the Strawberry Festival one year and it was a nightmare. Yeah, Kyle, there's so many people too, so I'm sure that causes a bit of a problem. So you're probably right. That's probably another factor as well. I hope they are able to reschedule. Maybe they will. If not, fingers crossed for great weather next year. Last year, we didn't have storms that day, I remember, but it was really hot and humid. But I guess, it's May for you in the Carolinas. So again, more storms possible later this evening and even potentially lingering into the overnight hours. We just have so much moisture. And so you could really just like squeeze it out like a sponge. There's just so much across the area. The good news is that Sunday is continuously trending drier than Saturday, even for the latter half of the morning and early afternoon. So if you have plans to head out, for Love and Life, maybe Charlotte Ice, things like that, the forecast does continue to trend a little bit drier and a little bit sunnier, and temperatures will be just a touch warmer too, around 80 degrees. So it's something that you can at least look slightly forward to heading out the door tomorrow. So I do want to just push home. We're not expecting severe storms by any stretch of the imagination. There's no severe criteria for lightning. Remember, the criteria for a severe thunderstorm warning to be issued is wind gusts in excess of 60 miles per hour, hail, quarter inch or bigger, or tornado. Again, it doesn't have to have all three, just one of them. Lightning is not one of them. You could have 10,000 lightning strikes, and that's not a severe thunderstorm. Now, I don't necessarily always agree with that, as a meteorologist, because lightning is so dangerous, but that's really why we're encouraging folks to stay weather aware. We in the WCNC Charlotte Weather Center have really strict criteria for encouraging folks to stay weather aware, just because we don't want to say those words for just any run of the mill thunderstorm. But in this case, they are classic summer-like thunderstorms that aren't expected to be severe, but it's on a weekend where so many people are outside. So we do have almost an asterisk, special case scenario in our team in which we want folks to be weather aware for the risk of lightning specifically because so many people are outside, and we would use the same criteria if it was a holiday weekend like Memorial Day or the 4th of July when a lot of people are outside. Calvin says heavy rain and lightning in southern Bessemer City across Interstate 85 and Highway 74. Yes, Bessemer City there in Gaston County was seeing a lot of heavy rain and lightning. Thank you, Calvin, so much for the reports. You guys have been fantastic this morning giving me reports. I'd love to see it. So again, the main reason we want folks to stay weather aware is for the localized flooding potential and the localized lightning potential as well. And I just want to kind of bring this home once again, talking about the events and knowing, what people's policies are. I know I guess, late spring, early fall, we had a lot of issues. Well, I mean, Charlotte FC did have, delays and things like that, and I believe even a cancellation or two because of lightning. So Bank of America Stadium's policy when it comes to lightning is within 8 miles. This is actually an industry standard, so it is pretty good. So the seating bowl and field are evacuated if there's lightning within 8 miles. You have to seek cover immediately in a car building, or if you're actually in, they oftentimes will let you go, underneath where all the concessions are. And so if you are actually outside, waiting, to get in to be to get in with your ticket, you will have to find shelter elsewhere. The protocol remains in effect, and this is again an industry standard until there's no lightning within an 8-mile radius for at least 30 minutes. So, for example, if there's a lightning strike and it's been 29 minutes and there's another lightning strike, that 30-minute time frame does start over. And that's again for the safety of you, the players, the referees, everybody. So just know that. And again, I think it's helpful really with anything to just know what the policy is because you'll probably be less frustrated, in the long run. I don't know the policy, on whether or not if it gets canceled or delayed or whatever, if they give you your money back. I don't know any of that. I'm just telling you from a meteorologist perspective what the lightning policy is. Again, tomorrow we still have the chance for some localized lightning, but the risk is lower for storms as well as the chance for rain. We still want you to be weather aware if you plan on being outside, but a little bit warmer, a little bit more sunshine, 80 degrees. We have another round of showers and storms Monday, but that's mainly as the system is kind of passing by. And then we are a little bit drier Tuesday. Hottest and driest day of the week actually looks to be Wednesday. We could actually see our first 90-degree day of the year so far. And then all eyes really across the Charlotte area and here in the WCNC Charlotte Weather Center too turns to the Wells Fargo Championship because that kicks off on Thursday. We'll see a few showers and storms possible, but expecting that this time of year as we enter into May. The big 4 days for that are Thursday, Friday, and then Saturday and Sunday. And if you weren't aware, next weekend is Mother's Day. So if you didn't know, here's your early heads up. Again, I'll wrap this up, folks, with just encouraging you to stay weather aware this weekend due to the lightning risk, also the risk for some localized flooding. I'll round us up again so we can take one last look at the radar right now. We have had some heavy rain and some lightning so far this morning, so make sure you download that WCNC Charlotte mobile app. We'll continue to keep an eye on what's happening in and around the Charlotte area, continue to keep you updated if you're going out and about, whether it's Charlotte FC, Breakaway, 11 Life. We will keep an eye on it for you. And if you do have those location settings turned on and you have the alerts turned on, if there's lightning, any alerts, you will get them straight to your phone. It's a great tool to have as you're out and about enjoying your weekend. Have a great one, everybody. And we will see you tomorrow morning starting at 6 a.m. on WCNC Charlotte with myself and Caitlin Hagwood. Bye.